Hello, good morning, and welcome again to Sports Across the Pond. We are here today with the usuals, Carlo and Nick and myself. This time, where are you guys? We are in different sides of the ponds.
So
Currently in Rome. Sorry, Nick. I'm currently in Rome under a heavy thunderstorm, so I'm close to the station because I have to anticipate the taxi. The city is almost in under a flood. It's incredible. It's really a whatever water bomb or whatever you call it. I
Ouch.
hope I can
wow,
somehow go back home
yeah,
by train tonight.
wow.
Sorry.
And then I am not near really any pond at the moment. I'm in Denver, in the kind
Near
of
to the
close to the
mountains.
mountains. Yeah,
Exactly.
more near the mountains than the pond right now. But yeah, out here visiting family, and we drove in just as the Denver Nuggets won the NBA championship. So
Yeah.
it was crazy. It was a sight to see as we drove through downtown.
Wow. So you're actually escaping me because I'm New York now. So I'm here I was like, okay, Nick, let's do sports across the pond on the same side of the pond in the same city. It didn't work out. So you're escaping me. Okay, next time I'm gonna go to Denver and you're gonna be somewhere else, most probably. But so nice to be on this side and see what's going on in the US as well. All right, so let's go to the topic of today. So, what we want to discuss now is about the fast channels. There is a lot of discussion about that. There was a lot of discussion before and still now. We got with the conversations here and there. And what seems to be is that there's not so much knowledge. Still, it's a very young opportunity, and the sport is actually getting into it as we speak, with trial and error in a way. So we thought to discuss about this and try to see if there's any data or any opinion or anything that is going on that is good to share. And again, if you wanna ask any questions or you have any feedback, just please feel free to just comment. So we just get it very interactive, and you're just not listening to these three guys across the pond. All right, first, what is what is the genesis and what are the fast channels? I think Nick, you have something to say about that, don't you?
Well, yeah, fast channels is really a term that Alan Wolk coined. I think he's kind of the one of the originators of the term, but it's this idea of free ad-supported streaming television. So if you think about the various tiers of the streaming television landscape, you have kind of your premium content, which is your SVOD, so the best shows on Netflix or on HBO Max and all of those, like the top tier. Then you have kind of your AVOD, so that's your general Hulu programming or all these new ad-supported tiers that are coming from the likes of Netflix and Disney Plus, right? So that's really good content, but has more ads around it, and it's a different model, but still has some level of payment that goes with that. So you subscribe to Hulu or you subscribe to a Peacock with ads, and you're going to get that next tier of quality program, things that you might traditionally see on live television. And then you go to the fasts, and the fasts are really unique because that's this entire ecosystem that is connected to all the different devices. So the fast channels are basically totally free. They require no subscription and allow you to basically go in and watch different types of channels that exist from all sorts of publishers all over. And so we're seeing this model kind of evolve in all sorts of ways because lots of TV manufacturers now have their own operating systems that are pulling fast into that. You have the telcos that are even offering some of the fast like services. So you have this really large ecosystem of 100% free content that's really more connected to the device that you're actually consuming that content on. So you have folks like Pluto, like Tubi, like Zumo here in the US. And then lots of others. I know DAZN just opened up a fast channel, which we'll talk about. So these are the totally free platforms that are running content inside of there. But it's typically kind of looked at as, I wouldn't say the bottom barrel of content, but it's definitely the less premium type of content. And I think, as we'll talk about in the world of sports, this is where it gets interesting because, you're not talking about the biggest rights in the world or the biggest live games. You're talking about a lot more niche audiences and things like that. So that's kind of a good summary of the pyramid of streaming today. And fasts, I guess, to steal Alan's analogy, I think is kind of looking at the cable television of the streaming ecosystem. However, what's really interesting is that even in the cable television world, you still had to pay. You had to pay as a consumer to get cable, whereas today you're really able, by having access to an internet subscription or an internet enabled device, you're able to get all this free content. So in effect, by owning a device and paying for internet, you're getting access to the fast world of content.
So basically what you're saying is, first we were saying internet is killing TV, and then internet is becoming TV, basically. Long story short, in a different way. Right. And what is the opportunity for sport in that? Where do you see that going?
I mean, I can give my thoughts like really quickly, because I think what's interesting is that sports so far, I think there have only been a couple really good examples. I think probably one of the longest examples that I've seen is Red Bull. So Red Bull, we know everybody talks about Red Bull in the world of video and brands being publishers, right? But they sponsored all of these different sports, and while sure some of the premier events and some of the premier sports that they're sponsoring get kind of national broadcast, more premium broadcast, they've built their own Red Bull TV channel. And for years, they've been taking shoulder content, repurposing original live streams of events that they're doing. All of these weird events like the ice skating races or the Flugtag, where, you're trying to send boats up into the air and make them fly, and all these fun, kind of weird events that they have. So sport, I think, has really only kind of dabbled in this. I think you have a couple examples. Red Bull TV, Flow Sports, World Poker Tour are just a couple examples that come to mind of folks that have been, kind of doing this really well. You have a few other folks in the mix. It's really been the major broadcast players that have kind of taken this. So typically Fast has been a bunch of content that you don't want to have on the premium tier, right? So really old seasons of shows, or, licensed content like Bob Ross that you can find everywhere, This Old House, right? A lot of this content became ubiquitous across all Fast channels. Everybody was trying to get rights to This Old House, or to the Red Bull TV, or to Tastemade, right? And now we're starting to see more and more Fast channels try to be unique and differentiate. So I really like what Pluto does within the Paramount system. So Pluto has a lot of these different themed channels that are promoting seasons of their new shows. So RuPaul's Drag Race, for example, if you want to go see the premiere of RuPaul's Drag Race, you're going to have to go to Paramount Plus. But if you want to go and see the old seasons and you want to be able to catch up on that, you can go to Pluto and pretty much watch those whenever you want. And I think it's really interesting to think about where sports is going to play in, because to date, sports has been focused on either negotiating their rights with the major broadcast and streaming players, right? Or they've been building their own platforms to try to build a subscription business. So, it's kind of interesting to see what's the different angles that sports Fast channels are going to take, because it is kind of that third tier of cannibalization of your content in a sense. So a lot of ways today, I think about social video and fasts almost in the same world. YouTube is kind of like a fast in and of itself, right? Because there's all this free content that can be consumed, and it's all ad supported in all different types of ways, right? So yeah, I think Pluto has done a really good job using the shoulder content, using old content to help promote the new content that they are putting on their premium channels. I think sports is a little bit different, because sports has been so focused on the live. So Carla, I'd love to hear what you think, because to me, it feels like most sports companies have been focusing on, like I said, negotiating rights if they're a media company or a Premier League, a top tier league, right? Or they're building their own direct to consumer platform, which then they're trying to take all their content to basically get you to be a subscriber. So the Fast thing seems like almost in the back of the mind to me, for anybody that isn't like a major broadcaster, like a DAZN or something. I don't know what you think.
So more in general on Fast, when I saw it coming, I was not complaining. This I know a lot of people don't like this, but I was not super happy about it, because it seems as in this transition from traditional broadcast to a digital streaming, etc., I saw it as a step back. But again, it's not that the market goes where I want the market to go. So I have to learn and understand why things are happening. So again, the fact that the subscription business remove somehow advertisement from content, and especially the advertisement that interrupts content, especially when it's really bothering people, that I saw it as a positive. The fact that you could directly monetize, I saw it as a very positive rational. When you build product, you need to really do a value exchange. Otherwise, I don't pay anymore. As we learn, I churn. On the other end, I understand that there's, I started focusing on this, I think, at the very beginning of 2022, when I intercepted Alan Walk article with the definition of what is fast, what are fast channels. It was a foundational article, I have to say, from Alan. And I started sensibilizing everybody around me. Look, this is coming. About is coming back. Netflix is saying that they may do it. So that was definitely something that took the attention of the market, or at least the more advanced part of the market from the beginning. In terms, and I see it. To be honest, I see it like linear implemented in the digital world. It brings back in the distribution area. It brings back the gatekeepers. So you need to be on Samsung TV, etc., etc., etc. So you cannot do it yourself, right? Which introduce a complexity. There are companies like Amagi that can do kind of end-to-end, bring you to market. So I have a big archive. I want to create a fast channel. It's not that difficult. I think the metrics to understand if you can be sustainable as a business, your single fast channel, and a lot of best practices are growing. The problem is that everything that is a hype. That's why I say, why is everybody trying to get on the fast train? Because it seems everybody now is doing fast. Like everybody had a NFT T-shirt, and I have a normal T-shirt. And now has a generative AI T-shirt, ChatGPT T-shirt. So it's that. If you want, fast is the ChatGPT of video, maybe in these months.
Yeah.
I think so there is a way to do it. There is also some metrics that can help you understand, okay, should I do it? Is my content could my content be able to generate so many, millions of hours per month? So yes, I can make money. And the investment is not huge, to be honest. So I think that's also why a lot of people, so clearly you need to start from content. And basically it's linear coming to digital. So it's back to EPGs, programming, what you should put in the programming, at what time, depending where the audience is, et cetera, et cetera. I think the curious thing is also that what I've learned is younger generation are into fast channels, which is a surprise, if you want. On one end, we're saying they're not watching live, they're watching long, they only want short content. But then, thank you. But really now it's, again, we need to learn from the market. I didn't expect that younger generation would really be into this kind of consumption format, to be honest. And I think for sport, live is linear and it's premium content. So at the moment, fast has been used for less premium content. On the other end, a lot of sport entities, both on the media and sports side, depending how the rights were structured in the past, have huge archives that are basically, I guess, I'm sure someone will say it's not correct, but almost zero monetized. Maybe if you have some smart intelligence, you create programming and you can somehow adapt it to the moment and to your audience. Big archives can be a huge reason to create a fast channel, because you can monetize things that you were not monetizing. And on the other end, potentially fans could access things that they've not been able to access in the past, right? I've seen a panel at NAB that was very interesting, and I noticed that someone, I don't remember the group, because now we have the architecture is there are content owners that use fast channel to reach an audience through a distributor, okay? And some were using YouTube, and Paola would be happy about it, to understand what content would resonate, week by week, depending and they would program the fast channel depending on the information from YouTube, right?
Yeah,
So that's quite a unique combination.
I literally have that as a point that I was going to mention, is like there should be so much knowledge from social video that you should bring back into that. I mean, even if you don't have we'll go back to gatekeepers in a second, but to your point, like even if you don't have the distribution set up, let's say you don't have your channel on the Watch Free Plus or whatever it is, right? You could actually do that on YouTube, right? Like if you have a really large YouTube audience, you could run a live video stream. Like there's plenty of channels on YouTube right now that are going live 24 hours a day. Most of the major news organizations are running live simulcasts of their news broadcasts on YouTube Live 24 hours a day. They insert the ads as people come in there, and they're making money doing it. So like a totally free, low cost way that you could kind of test and learn is obviously take those ideas from the best performing YouTube videos, but like even run a stream on your own platform, because people are watching live video on YouTube, and you can basically run that same experience. Obviously, it's not in the form of a channel guide the way that some of these fast channels are laid out, but there's some really interesting things that I think people could experiment if they always had an always on channel where they could get the chops of testing different programming.
If I can come in, as YouTube was mentioned, of course. No, I think that the point of like the live streaming on YouTube is very similar. Like there are two similarities. One is exactly what Nick was saying. So the live stream is basically like exactly the same. It's just that you do it very easily on YouTube. And because YouTube is coming to TV more and more, and that's more into connected TV, the two things are going to be kind of merging in a way. And no matter what, I think that especially niche sports are already doing it. Not really the, let's call it premium sports, but the niche sports that are looking for audience, and they have the audience, but they can't get free-to-air exposure. They're using a lot YouTube. But I think that's especially for this kind of sports where there's a very strong core fan base, and they really struggle to get free-to-air time because it's just very limited time. I think that being both on YouTube and on fast channels, that's perfect, because the key thing is that you actually prove it with the numbers that there is value for your rights, and then you go and actually demand that value. Because usually, especially for more niche sports, it's very hard to get that conversation to negotiate the rights or get airtime at all. So if you can do it yourself, then perfect, because there is an audience for everything, and you can actually go very easily. So definitely very, very fast and effective on YouTube, but same goes with fast. So I think it's a very good opportunity, especially for those type of sports. I think that was mentioned as well in the podcast from Sports Pro, and I think it's the biggest opportunities, especially for them, because that's where you get to your audience very easily, and you give them the option to watch whatever they want. And giving option to users is always the best thing ever. So give them a fast channel, give them YouTube live stream, get the data behind it, and then just go and negotiate your rights based on the data. Because then when you have millions and millions of people actually watching your content, your value goes from here to here immediately. And then you're like demanding. It's not just saying, hey, please put me on air, which sometimes could happen. So I think that especially the data behind it as well, and the proof that there's a strong audience, and the way that you can monetize, because there are brands that want to go there, but they can't otherwise. So the more options you give to brands to go to that audience, that's more brilliant. It is.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think that this is like my prescriptive advice for the day, is basically like, if you're getting involved in the fast game, don't expect any audience to just come there naturally because of the platform that you're on. Like if you get a deal with Samsung or Vizio and all these great platforms, it's nothing against them, but like there are many, many, many channels in that guide, right? And you can't expect that you're gonna just get a feature placement because you're doing X, Y, and Z, right? You have to really craft that experience, and these companies really want to have a more customized approach too, right? Like if you have your own fast channel, you really need to lean into marketing to try to acquire viewers on that platform, right? And you need to put in the time and effort and not just wait for that platform. But to your point, Paula, I've heard this example from some other streams as well, is like CrossFit games, which I think is really interesting. Like we worked with CrossFit games on Facebook when they were streaming CrossFit games on Facebook Live. And then I saw that recently I think it was Pluto or Tubi or one of those. They partnered with CrossFit Games and they streamed the CrossFit Games on their Fast platform. And I think that's a really interesting point that you can look to, right? Because obviously, if you're the major ball and stick sports, it's going to be, you're going to be competing at a whole nother level for a different type of rights. But like, if you are the World Highlight Championships or the badminton world championships, or maybe not pickleball because that's kind of maybe too viral these days, but essentially, like, you can find a relationship if you're in charge of one of these lower tier sports, right? And have that, like, so many of these sports are self-sustaining industries. I think about like what lacrosse has done and how they've built their brand and have changed over the years, right? You think about CrossFit as a really great example. So if you build a strong community around your sport, you can actually just go right into one of these fast platforms, no different than you'd walk into a BT or an ESPN or whomever, right? Because you can approach them with that exact same relationship, just knowing, like, listen, you may not be Premier League football, right? You might not be Major League Baseball, but maybe you're the Savannah Bananas, or you're, a local, a smaller, minor league team or something like that, or a unique sport that's different that real people are interested in, right? I think like pro bull riding has built some of their own platforms, right? So think about all these different niche sports, and there's an opportunity for you to go and leverage the infrastructure of a fast that could potentially scale the streaming audiences. And if you had 1 million followers on your social networks and you're able to bring a decent percentage of them over to a live stream, you're going to be getting a pretty solid viewership for all of that content, right? I love fishing. I think about fishing platforms and different types of tournaments that could exist, right? All of these different niche sports that could use fasts, but approach them not as a lower tier or a lower class of live partner, but to them that should be the premium, right? If I'm a small league that has nothing, or that I'm just trying to be a very solid self-sustaining sport, I would look at Fubo I would look at like a Tubi or a Pluto as my ESPN. How can I go and do that relationship with them and have them want to make me a big part of what they're doing, right? So
Well, actually, if you're looking at fishing or anything similar, extreme sports, for example, they have really core fans, and they actually monetize extremely well. It actually monetize very well on subscription as well. So they can go and just go and fasten for other type of content. So those are the ones that can demand real premiums, to be honest.
Yeah, I also sorry, Paola. One thing we should mention is DAZN has launched in the last 6 months, I think, 5 fast channel, in some case global, in some case local. I think 3 local, 2 global. And one is for women's sport, if I remember well. One is called Fast Plus, DAZN Fast Plus. So let's see what DAZN, I mean, I haven't seen data for the moment, but let's see how it works for them, because that's from the media. On the other end, there's one problematic that maybe it's very niche, but fascinated me, is you have, as a content owner, suppose I have my big archive of whatever football video that I want to share on Fast Channel, right? And I will use, say, an integrator like Amagi to do the technical stuff, the programming, etc., the strategy with me. And then I will do the deals, publish the Fast Channel, get it approved on the platform, maybe 1 to start, and then 2, 3, etc. And obviously it's digital, so they know what programming works, what doesn't. My understanding, but I may be wrong, and comment if you already have seen the solution, is that the distributor don't have, so no data format, standard format exists for reporting back to me, if I understood well. So maybe the integrator in this case could do the data management of getting all the different ways that potentially, hopefully, this distributor are giving back. I think this is somehow happening, because it's crucial. I need to know in an aggregated way, because that information I want to put it in my data lake, compare it to because imagine if I have an SVOD and a VOD also. I want to put everything together and understand, how to evolve, content strategies, investments. I need the data. And if, because everybody's kind of competing in the space, they don't create a standard way, or someone doesn't create a standard way of reporting back, I think that's long term, it will be a problem. Maybe today everybody's in love, so they just do it.
No, I mean, like that's one of the biggest, and obviously, working at Conviva for many years, we saw a lot of different fast channels and how they interacted with their partners and things like that. And in my experience, there's definitely room for improvement, right? I think that there needs to be more collaboration. I know yesterday at the Stream TV show, I think here in Denver, there's even talk of a coalition of fast channels trying to come together to have a little bit more of that kind of attention coming together. But yeah, I mean, for right now, there's still it's still kind of new and in the unknown phase. And the data, so the data is still a big gap. So there's, the way that, and I'm not going to name any different platforms here, but, I've heard from some folks that run the, fast channels that the types of data that they get back from the actual fast platforms are extremely limited versus obviously, if you run your own platform, you could pretty much get second by second data for everything that's in there. So the capacity to share more of the data is there, but, as with everything, it's a business relationship. The fast channels are kind of like these new walled gardens, just like the social networks were in a sense. So that's going to come with a new set of measurement challenges that will arise. But I feel like if we're making some progress on the big measurement changes, and there's a lot of development and measurement right now all across the streaming TV landscape, I think that the fast channels, knowing that all of it is digital and it can be measured, it's totally there. It's just more of the business relationship evolving, and then I think that fast content owners are going to be able to have access to more data.
Well, we have
Agree.
a question as well for you, Carlo. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Hey, Jonathan. Your point on that, what is the best way that fast can affect the marketing funnel, especially in a scenario where you take a diverse approach? But in theory, so without putting too much intelligence into the answer, is I see fast a bit at the top of the funnel, but they may have, and again, I don't think there is one funnel. So I think you can apply like a multi-funnel approach to something like this and say, okay, yes, fast can be a way to attract people to, about SVOD, maybe as SVOD, especially because, or it can be an audience per se that I should be happy to have and nurture. And my idea is that somehow, as you have, someone will start talking about retention and fast, which seems maybe not the obvious one, right? But I think you want your audience on fast to consume more and more content, because the more they consume, the more you can sell advertisement or generate advertisement and then be paid. So I think it's a combined effort. They can discover you on fast, and they may, especially if you play the premium to less premium content play game, and move them to SVOD in the end. But maybe it's an audience, it's a segment that you can happily keep there if there is a retention. So if they consume, because if they come and go for 2 minutes, not a big success. I think that's my understanding today. So again,
no, I would agree. It's definitely it's a dual funnel approach, like you said. If you want fast, it can be your destination and it can be your centerpiece for everything, and if you want to monetize on that. But yeah, I think one of the best examples for the more popular sports or TV broadcasters, right, is that idea of top of the funnel driving to an AVOD or an SVOD experience. So as I mentioned before, this is, Viacom or Paramount that's broadcasting RuPaul inside of old seasons of RuPaul and then promoting the latest season as the ads themselves on the fast channel. So if you go in to Pluto TV, you could watch the RuPaul Drag Race channel and you can see all these old seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race. And then pretty much, you're going to see a heavy promotion for whatever the latest series is to go to Paramount Plus to watch the newest episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. So that's a really popular model right now. And I think sports could do that too. I think I saw Real Madrid opened up a whole new streaming product today. They have all these different tiers of membership and things like that. But in the future, maybe for Real Madrid, maybe they're taking a small subsection of that or one old historic match and partnering with a local vendor to be able to acquire more of those folks to the premium tier to watch other Real Madrid content, right? So yeah, definitely can use that as a feeder program.
So I think Jonathan agrees with that.
Thanks for the comments, Jonathan. Thank you for participating.
Yeah, and I think just to like the top of I think that it's really very similar to what YouTube is really top of the funnel for every subscription model. They all do the same. Like if you look at every subscription model from Netflix to DAZN to Amazon Prime, you go to YouTube, you see like the size of the audience they get there, and they just top of the funnel. They can try to actually get them down the funnel. It's like exactly the same. So fast channels are not that different. So I think if you get both, that's brilliant. I think we need to wrap up. It has been a very fast conversation on the fast channels. Sorry, my sense of humor is always very bad. It doesn't get any better even if I'm in New York. Anyway, so thank you everyone for joining us. And we're going to be back in 2 weeks' time, and we're going to talk about women's sports. So keep following and keep asking for questions, and we're happy to just join the conversation with you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.